everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order.
With that, the first person to speak tonight is Bret Carpenter.
Bret Carpenter. I live here in Kendallville. There's a nationwide war being waged against our children, even within our education system, where some are actively indoctrinating, deceiving, and endangering students. A notable issue is the push to allow boys and girls private spaces and sports. Even before the Biden administration broadened the definition of sex to include sexual identity, Teresa Gremaux, as superintendent at North Manchester, allowed a boy to use the girls' restroom without informing parents. Teachers were actually instructed to hide this from parents. In a public meeting, Teresa brought in a Bowen Center representative who claimed that the sex doctors assigned at birth isn't necessarily accurate. An outraged parent led a walkout of 70 others saying, "We have to sit through this trash, lecturing us that we don't know what male and female is?" Teresa Gremaux sounds more like a woke left activist than a superintendent. Fast forward to East Noble. When the board was tasked with writing a transgender policy, Teresa's initial explanations was so unclear, it left board members confused. At least 2 of the board members thought the policy was to allow the accused to appeal, not the grievant. Well, concerned about Teresa's history, we requested to see the policy before the vote. Teresa and the board hid the policy from the public and even refused a FOIA request, telling us the soonest we could see the policy was 24 hours before the vote. I saw the policy for the first time the day of the vote. Because it was so poorly written, 4 of us came in here and pleaded with the board to table the vote until the next meeting. The board immediately voted it in. The policy simply does not protect girls in sports. It actually allows for the possibility of a boy playing in girls' sports his entire 4 years in high school. Nowhere does the policy say that a boy will be removed from a girl's sports. The transgender policy that you guys wrote is worse than no policy. It is so poorly written that after the board voted the policy in, a board member wrote on our Facebook group, "So what you're saying is if you're accused of this, you don't want the accused to have the right to appeal?" That's what this policy is for, to give the accused time to provide evidence. That isn't what the policy was about. At least one board member voted on a policy thinking it was for the accused to appeal and not the grievant. You need to take another look at that policy, you need to fix it, and you need to start protecting girls in sports. Don't wait until the tragedy occurs. Change it now.
Thank you for your comments. Next up is Greg Rice.
Mr. Lash, Mr. Byerly, welcome. Glad to have you aboard. I hope that you can bring some common sense, badly needed common sense, but thought I'd take a different approach tonight, and this thing isn't on. I hope everybody can hear me, but I thought I'd play a little bit of trivia tonight. I'm just doing this off the cuff. I just thought of it on my way here. But I want you to think about yourselves, the Board of Education, who makes policy decisions that affect the lives of children. Okay? Now, this board, individuals, has voted in a book called The Stolen Life, among others, which depict very graphic sex scenes, bestiality, ejaculating in the face, sex with animals, oral sex, anal sex, bondage, rape. Now this board had an option. They could have voted this book in or voted it out. Now, think about it for just a moment. What do you call a person? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? The first word, the first name, adjective, or whatever, of a person on this board who would vote in favor of giving that material or making it available to minors in the library or curriculum, even minors that they don't even know. You folks don't know every student in the corporation, obviously. Voting to give that to strange kids that you don't even know, that you don't even know how it's going to affect them mentally, psychologically, spiritually, without even letting their parents know what you're doing. They can pull that book off the library shelf, sit down and read it without their parents' knowledge. What's the first word or name or adjective that comes to mind regarding a person who would vote in favor of that type of access for minors that they don't even know without their parents' knowledge? Does anybody have any names you can think of? Any adjectives? Joel, Aaron, your colleagues.
Next up is John Clausen.
Good evening, board. I didn't intend to follow up on those things, but I'd like to say one thing, and that is, I believe the book that was referred to is illegal in the fact that you cannot teach that. The school cannot teach it to kids without parental consent if it was a sexual health course. But you're allowing it to be taught anyway outside that frame, and I think you've got a gap there that you should close. Anyway, good evening. My name is John Clausen. I'm from Rome City. I have a various set of topics to cover, which I need to hurry up on. First of all, a survey was done on the stadium, which perhaps you're going to vote on tonight. And I just wanted to highlight a few things. The survey was shared with Brian. He said he would share it with others. So number one, 90% of the respondents, which were 110 roughly, said that the first obligation in regards to using the revenue generated from taxpayer-funded properties, such as a digital board that you can sell advertisements on, should be to pay off the maintenance and later replacement and lower the burden on the taxpayer. That's 90% of the respondents. That means you don't use the ad revenue for whatever you want. In every other program, first, you pay off and you put monies aside for replacement and maintenance first. Second, 85% of the respondents said those revenues should be audited, and I think Ryan said that it is audited already. That's good. And then 85% also preferred a green playing field. I'll leave this here for you guys, but the rest of the questions are there. So I'm running out of time, so that's that. Next topic was email on the website. You guys have taken your email addresses off. Teresa Gremaux and I have discussed this a little bit online. She's replied, thank you. I don't agree with the thought process there of taking them down being cybersecurity. Our own representatives in the state have their email addresses up on their websites. My company has it. It's pretty easy to deal with the spam and cybersecurity issues you get with that. That's just a common IT thing to do. But now you're making it very hard for us in the community to communicate with you. We have to fill out forms 8 times. We don't get a receipt that it was sent. We have no copy of what we even said to you. I think it's just another example of us not taking the right steps to work with the community. The next thing, real quick, I want everyone in the room to be aware of Senate Bill 143. It's advertised as a parental rights bill. It does nothing of the sort. It actually turns complete authority over to the government when they want it to take your children away from you. You should look into it and push back. Don't take my word for it. Finally, Title IX is going to be shown as a movie at Crosspoint on Friday, the 17th at 7 p.m. You're all invited and encouraged to attend. Thank you.
Next up is Amanda Poole.
I'm Amanda Uhl. I'm from a villa on Main Street. I wasn't born into a wrestling family, however, I married into one, and I've been around long enough to form my own opinions around the wrestling community's needs. My intent is to bring awareness to the programs that are lacking respect, establishing priorities as the result of considering wants versus needs. At the last meeting, we learned of a project regarding the outdoor facilities and stadium. It entailed a new track and field, new lighting, and new scoreboard. While I believe and find value in maintaining our facilities for our community to enjoy, I want to point out that I believe that the track and field are needs and that the scoreboard and lights are currently wants and could be maintained in their current state to further address your attention to a need that should be seen as a priority. Today, girls wrestling is the fastest growing sport. As we know, it became sanctioned along with boys volleyball last year. We have had a wrestling facility that has been outgrown by the boys team alone for some time. However, we're continuing to operate in the same facility now with both our boys and girls teams together. I bring not only the need for a more conducive facility, but also some thoughts to consider for the betterment of serving all athletes in the room collectively with the respect they deserve. Our boys and girls teams share a head coach. What other sport shares the same coach, individual coaching staff amongst two separate sanctioned sports during the same season? While you have two sanctioned sports, the boys also have a JV team. This means 3 teams are sharing an outgrown space. This also means that they share practice times and no athlete is getting a full practice in with the lack of space, having to take turns repping and resting. Each athlete only getting half of a workout. You have 1 coaching staff for 2 sanctioned sports competing for space and coaching. This means that athletes aren't getting the coaching that they deserve for their optimal potential. Everyone practices together. Your coaching staff isn't putting any extra to accommodate the need between the 2 programs that they are equally deserving of. Our show choirs hold separate practices as an example. You have 3 teams going 3 different directions as invitationals is how wrestling works. Your teams are equally short of staff that are deserving of needed staff to properly support them all the way around. Sports like wrestling also bring athletes to East Noble from other school corporations, not just football. Little Riley Biddle, he's still little to me, was this year's junior starting star quarterback and a top performing student. Know that he wouldn't be here today if his family didn't move here for wrestling. This is true. Their family first brought the boys from Central Noble for tough, and they wanted to continue to wrestle for East Noble. We should give all athletes in the room a functional facility and their own prospective coaching staffs that can further take them to the next level that they deserve. This week you have 4 girls going to compete at state. Last year we had 8, but I'm sure the head coach followed the boys varsity team when the coordination conflicted.
Thank you for your comments, Mrs. Wolf.
I'll leave the rest of my comments.
Thank you. With that, we're moving on to board reorganization. We have quite a few items to get through. First one is the action on reorganization of the Board of Trustees. Board, anybody like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion for Doug Jansen to be our board president, for Brett Durbin to be our vice president, and for Scott Trulove to be our secretary.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. The ayes have it. Next is the action on board member compensation. Brian.
So the Indiana Code allows $2,000 per board member, and then they can determine if there's additional stipend per regular meeting. Currently, it is $25 per regular meeting, and then any additional training, such as attending superintendent or school board association conferences or any training such as that, there's additional compensation. Again, by Indiana Code for $31 for a half day and $62 for a full day. That is currently what is compensation. And so,
I'll make a motion to accept the board compensation as it has been in Brian stated.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Jen Blackman and a second from Mr. Trulove. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. So moved. Next is the action to appoint treasurer and deputy treasurer. Ms. Dr. Gremaux.
Yeah, Mr. Leach is, we're making a recommendation that Mr. Leach as the corporation treasurer and Mrs. Holly Singleton as the deputy treasurer for 2025.
I'll make a motion to accept.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Mrs. Klein and a second from Mr. Truelove. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, the same. So moved. Action on the appointment of the East Noble School Corporation attorney. Brian.
It's been discussed over the years, and we've had local attorneys, we've had attorneys outside of the area for the past, for several years. East Noble's used attorney Dan Diggins until he decided to retire. Since then, we decided to move to a Barnes & Thornburg, a larger firm out of Fort Wayne, and it's been discussed with Dr. Gremaux and others that we'd like to get back to a local representation. So the recommendation would be moved forward with Tipton Law as the East Noble School Corporation attorney.
I'll make the motion that we appoint Tipton Law as our East Noble School Corporation attorney.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Mrs. Blackman and a second from Mrs. Klein. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, the same. So moved. Action on the designation of the newspaper for publication. Ryan.
The current designations for the newspaper publication is the Kendall News Sun. I would recommend to continue the same.
I'll make a motion to accept.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Mrs. Klein and a second from Mr. Durbin for the action on designation of newspapers for publication. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, the same. So moved. And next up is action on designation of depository. Brian.
Currently, the school corporation uses Lake City Bank as its designated depository, and the recommendation would be to continue as the same.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Mrs. Klein and a second from Mrs. Blackman. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, the same. So moved. And last, action to establish financial goals. And back to you, Brian, again.
The administration will recommend the board approve the financial goals as follows. With strong and responsible fiscal management currently established, East Noble School Corporation shall maintain the current levels between expenditures for the student instruction and expenditure categories for other expenditure categories as described in Indiana Code 21-10-3-4 for the next fiscal year.
Can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Mr. Durbin and a second from Mrs. Klein. All in favor, say aye. And opposed, the same. So moved. Board, moving on, you had a chance to review the minutes from the previous meeting on December 18th, 2024. We have a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make a motion to accept.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Mrs. Klein and a second from Mr. Truelove. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Opposed, the same. So moved. We have two claims reports to approve tonight. The first one is from December 23rd. You should have had a chance to, of 24. You should have had a chance to review that.
I'll make a motion to accept the claims of December 23rd, 2024.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Mrs. Blackman and a second from Mr. Truelove. All in favor say aye. Opposed, the same. So moved. And then the second one are the claims from January 10th of 2025. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Mr. Durbin and a second from Mrs. Blackman. All in favor say aye. Opposed, the same. So moved. All right, moving on to personnel. You should have had a chance to review the resignations, retirements, and terminations. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion to approve from Mr. Truelove and a second from Mrs. Blackman. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed, the same. So moved. Reassignments? None. New hires? We have a couple in there. There's a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Mr. Truelove and a second from Mrs. Klein. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. And then leave requests. I know we got a couple there.
I'll make a motion to accept.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Mrs. Klein and a second from Mr. Durbin. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. All right, moving on to instruction. And we have some new diploma requirement presentation, and I think Mrs. Longbaugh is going to do that.
Good evening. The state of Indiana, December 20th, 2024, passed the requirements for the new high school diploma. When you look, that I gave you this little spreadsheet here. What I wanted to show you was what we had been operating under, which was the current Core 40 diploma, and then how East Noble goes about achieving the credits. So for over 20 years, East Noble High School has had 47 credits, had our students achieving at 47 credits. So when the state of Indiana said 40 credits, we have been at 47. Now the new proposed diploma is at 42 credits. We still would like to stay at 47. So even though there is some flexibility and some additions that the state of Indiana is adding to the diploma, such as computer science and a communications class in the English department, we want to stay with 47 because we believe that that's what our students are used to. We believe that that sets high expectations for achievement for them. And we also believe that it sets them up. Instead of going with the academic honors diploma and the technical honors diploma, the state of Indiana, if you got your second one, is going to SEALs. And so students will be able to earn SEALs in enrollment, employment, and enlistment. So they can earn more than one SEAL. They can actually earn up to 6 SEALs if they're a very vigorous person. But what we believe with the 47 credits that we are asking for you to approve is that we are lining those students up immediately to be able to earn an honor SEAL in either enrollment or employment. And so if you're looking, there are very, very few changes that we're not even asking for. We're just asking for a continuation of what East Noble High School has always been doing. So, any questions for me?
When do these have to be decided by?
So the state of Indiana, this goes into effect for this year's 8th graders. So we can opt in as soon as next year, but for the class of 2029, they will have to meet the requirements that you see with the future Indiana diploma.
Thank you.
Are you wanting to opt in next year? Is that kind of the?
There are some things that the state of Indiana has not made clear yet related to courses and what counts for what. So like I actually have a little thing here from the state of Indiana, and there's different courses under English, math that they are still considering whether or not they're going to count. If we could opt in for students, so that means that we could have some students on this diploma track and some students on the other diploma track, and that would be totally okay. We just want to make sure that we have everything in place and all of the classes in place before we move a whole entire cohort that direction.
Yeah.
But the goal would be to be on track next year.
I guess you're saying you want them to get these honor seals, but what do they gain from the seals from getting these?
So the honor seals are going to prepare them to be accepted into college, especially when you're looking at the enrollment honor seal. So when the state of Indiana first came forward, or the IDOE first came forward with the idea of the new diploma, it was not in line with the rigor to get accepted into college. And so a lot of colleges came forward and said, we do not agree with the way that this diploma is going forward. So there were a lot of changes that were made, and then they actually got the support of those colleges, letters of support with this honor seal. So if you're looking at the enrollment, colleges wanted to make sure that
when students walked out of high school, that they were prepared and ready to go in and meet the requirements of colleges. And so that, especially the enrollment seal, is something that will get them accepted into college.
Okay, thank you. Board, any other questions for Mrs. Longenthal?
It's not easy to say, is it?
I'm always used to calling you Kathy.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's a business meeting, I shouldn't do that, so. With that, are we, someone prepared to make a motion to approve? She is
I'll make a
asking.
motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve high school new diploma requirements as presented. Do you have any discussion?
Just thank you for your work on this, because there's a lot of schools around the state that have been going through planning and looking and all of the changes and.
And one of the things that I think we are very fortunate is we're not doing any changes because these have been our expectations all along. So when other schools were looking at this and kind of worried about what is going to happen to their schedule, what is going to happen to their classes, it's not going to affect us because we're already there. And that's what I'm really proud of.
There were definitely advantages to schools of certain size, and luckily we were one of them. So yes,
Yes,
indeed.
I could see how this would be very challenging to a smaller school.
It would be.
Yeah, exactly.
I can appreciate that East River's been on the front end of things and goes above and beyond what the state requires us. That's
Right.
something that's good.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, the same. So moved.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Wilson. All right, moving on. We have, the next business item is the action to approve the 2025 school bus purchase. Brian.
So I believe it was September of 2024, where I presented to you what we wanted to purchase for buses for calendar year 2025. We've seen extremely long lead times on buses over the past few years since COVID, some of them exceeding 18 months. It used to be we'd write a purchase order in January and we received the buses before school would start. That no longer is the case. It was just a few months ago we received our last bus that we purchased in January of 2023. So at that point in time, we had the buses selected, we had the quotes, and I asked for permission to send a letter of intent. I'm really kind of surprised that the manufacturer accepts that, because it really binds us to nothing. If the budget wasn't approved, as needed and the funds weren't there, then the letter of intent was null and void. The budget has been approved. We have issued the purchase order. This is for approval. The purchase order was issued in the exact same fashion, exact same dollar amount, buses, everything, that the letter of intent was written for. So I would ask that the administration approve the bus purchase order for 2025.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Mr. Durbin and a second from Faye Klein to approve. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. So moved. And the last business item is the action to approve end-of-year appropriation transfers.
Yeah, so at the end of the year, as the budget is cleaned up, a budget is exactly that. You budget in money in thousands of lines, not thousands, but hundreds of lines. And then at the end of the year, it gets trued up. You may overspend in some areas, but underspend in others. As you hire different staff members, as utility costs, may not come in above or below, what have you. And so in the board packet, you had a sheet to recommend the transfer. The transfers only happen within the fund, so within the education fund, within the operations fund. There are no appropriation transfers for the debt service fund. So administration would ask that you approve that to complete the 2024 budget year.
I'll make a motion to approve the transfers as Brian presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Mrs. Blackman and a second from Mrs. Klein. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. So moved. All right, moving on to the Board of Finance of East Noble High School Corporation, or East Noble School Corporation. It's back to you, Brian.
So the Board of Finance meets really one time a year. It's at this meeting. But we have to, with a new year, a new realignment, we have to establish new officers for the Board of Finance. It has been traditional and past practice to recommend the same officers as we have for the school corporation itself. And so that would be the recommendation from the administration. So we move forward with a new slate of offers for the Board of Finance, the same as we have for the school board itself.
I'll make a motion that we have the Board of Finance officers be the same as the school board officers.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Mrs. Blackman and a second from Mrs. Klein to approve the end of year, or sorry, to approve the action on the Board of Finance as said. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed the same. So moved. Once again, Brian, the overview of investments for 2024.
So it used to be school corporations would bid out, call local banks, get interest rates on CDs, and invest some of their cash balances at different times to earn additional interest income. And interest income goes by Indiana code is procedures into the operations fund. Since we switched banks, and for several years now, the market's doing very well. We've earned a fair amount of interest, so I'm pleased to report that for calendar year 2024, we earned $1,120,512.74, and that goes into support the operations budget. So it's something that this is the second year in a row we've earned in excess of $1 million. I think the previous year of that was about $800,000, and so it's pretty amazing and really helps our operations budget, which supports the facilities and maintenance, custodial, transportation, and so forth. So I was pleased to report that.
Thank you, Brian. Any questions on that, board? All right, and then review of financial condition report for 2025.
So this is this is a report that is off of the DUAD website. And it is mandated by Indiana code. This is shared with the school corporation in a public meeting. So this was sent to you in your packet. You can actually go to this website. You can pull it up for any school corporation in the state. So we'll walk kind of through this a little bit. This is East Noble School Corporation as a corporation number 6060. It shows our 23-24 fall student count. This data is a year old for the most part. But it is what is required to be shared. The 24 net assessed valuation is there, as well as the estimated population within our taxing district. So what this first slide shows is our enrollment, both in a fall count and a spring count, and then also in a virtual count. We do have a few students virtually as well. Big takeaway here is you do see a little bit of a steady decline in student enrollment over the past few years. So moving into the next slide, maybe. You will see the demographic makeup. So you see our free and reduced lunch population, our special ed population, and our English language learners. You can see that, for our English language learners, increased a little bit over the past several years. Our SPED population remains pretty consistent, but has spiked the last couple of years. It really fluctuates. We are known for our programs here. We are a destination place for those populations. But the big takeaway here is the free and reduced population. Since the state has eliminated book rental, since we were able to move to free breakfast and lunches for all students, which is a great thing for parents and a great thing for kids, that hurts our free and reduced count because it goes off of the free and reduced application. There's not as many incentives now for parents to fill that out because they don't pay book rental and they don't pay for meals. So that has an effect on our title funding, and it also has an effect on our E-rate funding. So our E-rate money is used primarily for infrastructure upgrades, whether it be recabling, rewiring of buildings, access points, switches, network equipment, and then our title funding is in a number of different areas, but to provide additional support above and beyond that's a federal program as well. So we are working at ways to try and get information out there. There's what they call a household verification income sheet that we are asking parents to fill out. That is accepted in lieu of the old free and reduced lunch application. So that's the takeaway here. As that drops, it potentially is going to affect our federal funding. So and then down below, you'll see the fund balances. You'll see a couple of them that are below the bottom line. Those are federal programs. That's the federal stimulus package, the CARES money, the ESSER funds that are no longer in play. Those had to be spent by 12/31/24. And then also other federal funds like title. Those are reimbursement type grants. So we have to spend the money first and then ask for reimbursement. So that's why you see them in the negative, because we have to wait for them to reimburse us. So depending on when the report is issued, it will depend on where that's at negative. And so then you'll see a difference in colors of some of our graphs between 18 and 19. That's when the state changed from educational, or changed from general fund, capital projects, transportation, and bus replacement to education and operations. So that explains some of the differences there. Moving on to the next slide, you'll see the annual deficit or surplus. You can see pretty much for most all those years we ran a slight surplus, revenue over expenditures, and then you'll see a fund balance as a percentage of the expenditures. So we have a healthy financial situation here at East Mobile School Corporation. And then the last slide shows the revenue by type. So the majority of our funding comes from state revenue, which supports the education fund. We also have revenue that comes from federal funds, which you'll see in there. It's a lot of your title monies, food service, and so forth. And then you have your debt revenue, which is the green. You have your local tax revenue, which is down there at the bottom, which is remained fairly consistent. And then the bottom portion of that graph there is a flat line because we do not have an operating referendum. The only referendum we have is a construction referendum, which is what raises the levy to pay for the middle school. So that is the fiscal indicators report that's been shared with you.
Thank you for that, Brian.
Thank you.
Yeah. Board, any comments? Quickly moving on, right, Beth?
Yeah.
All right.
It was a great time. Thank you.
Yeah. All report.
He's gonna be tired, huh?
All right, guys, moving on to discussion items, the 2025 budget approval. I know that's something that's been discussed but needs to be approved, Brian.
Yes, the 2025 budget approval, we received our 17 notice towards the end of 2024. I am pleased to announce that the budget was written as presented, except for the debt service fund, and that was because we had not officially completed our bond sale for the transportation technology and the renovations here, so we put an estimated number. The estimated number was higher than what was going to be needed intentionally. Once you advertise a dollar amount, you can't go above that, so that was reduced to reflect the actual payments for those bonds. And then also, I'm pleased to report that the tax rate did decrease from the previous year. It went from 70.08 cents or 70.8 cents to 68.09 cents per $100 of assessed valuation. So I did mention that in my budget presentation that I anticipated the tax rate to go down a little bit, even with the selling of bonds for the projects that we had in mind. So I was pleased to see and pleased to announce that that's actually took place.
And we need a motion to approve that budget, board, if someone would like to.
No, sorry.
Okay, all right.
This is all discussion.
Yes, discussion, okay, for some reason I thought we needed to approve that, thank you guys. Moving on to federal grants.
I get to talk. As you're aware, and I have put it out to the public too, that we are in jeopardy of losing some of our funding for our federal grants, mainly because we offer free lunch now, we offer free textbooks now, so we're having a difficult time having people fill out the household income verification form. And rightfully so. So I did put an urgent post out in the newsletter on Sunday night. I am happy to report to you that we had over 100 people that immediately signed up. And I really think that went to when they saw what they were going to possibly lose. That could be the free lunches for everybody. We do ACT, SAT, fee waivers, dual credit fee waivers, college application fees. There's lots of things that we could lose and be jeopardized for that. So we are looking at ways to make that a little bit easier and user-friendly for people, but with registration next year, because it is like an annual thing that we have to do. But I just wanted to keep you abreast of what has happened since I did put that information out, and we hope to keep getting it, because we're going to keep putting it out on social media as well. So
How many more people do you need to fill that out?
I do not know those people that qualify. We don't have a number of.
Oh, so what would be the number of us to say lose those?
Well, the threshold is 40% per like school, and then the corporation. And we have a few schools that were only a few tenths over that number, so we were very close to dropping below that. So we need to make sure that we keep everybody up on that and keep filling out those applications. So, yeah.
So you're still in danger if you still need people to fill it out?
We're okay because they do it at the fall count, and we believe that we qualified at that point. They don't redo it at the spring one, but we will be in the same situation next year. So we do have to get people in that routine of filling that out, because it is really important for that federal money. So, and that's our E-rate, our internet money is too. It's all based on all of that. So we surely don't want to lose that. So anyway, that's where we're at. I just wanted to give you that update. Thank you.
Any more questions, board? All right, East Noble Academy update.
Yeah, so the roof trusses have been set. The roof is being sheeted, if not completely sheeted now. The sidewalls are being sheeted. The windows have been delivered. They're getting it, it's been wrapped. We have some termite spray and pesticide spray that'll be going down this Friday. And then they will start getting it all dried in and ready to go to move forward this winter with wiring and plumbing and all that stuff. So it's moving along very well, and we're getting excited.
Any questions, board? All right, and the last discussion item is board training dates.
Well, I sent out a doodle poll, I'll get it right. And really it landed on February 8th. We talked about not talking about this, but
Yeah.
It sounded like most people were. Jen's the only one that's really kind of checking to see if that works for her schedule. I just want you to put it as a save that date for right now until we can hear back from Jen and see if that works. Sounds like once we get into March, we lose Brent, and some other people have some things. So if we can get it done in February, that'd be great. So.
Okay, so please check your schedules, get back with Dr. Gremaux quickly on that. so we
8th was
get
the
that.
only date that worked for everybody.
That, yes, in the poll, that's the one that had everybody on it.
Gotcha.
So everybody was good, okay, so we'll move forward with that.
Except for Jen. Jen's still trying to figure that out.
Okay. Okay.
And she'll get back with us.
Alrighty, thank you, Jen. Yeah. All right, late items.
Yes, I have two. One of them I'm passing out right now is the FFA. is looking to do a field trip to Fort Worth. And we just received this information today. And we want to make sure our kids have that opportunity to be able to go. It is a stock show, and they are taking 4 high school students and 1 middle school student, and we have 2 supervisors, which is Jesse Kimmel and Amy Barnes. They are actually driving down, and they'll be there from January 16th to the 21st and come back. All their meals are paid for through FFA. They're taking a corporation vehicle, so that is covered. And the cost per student is $200. And so this is all gonna go towards their SAE program, and it will help expand their knowledge in that area.
I think that's a great idea, but they're just now giving it to us,
Yeah.
and it's on the 16th. I'm sure
Well,
they had to make
unfortunately,
arrangements.
the people that were signing up for it thought they filled it out and sent it in, and I didn't get it until like the end of last week with no information. And I would hate to turn it down
Oh,
for
for
the
sure.
kids.
No, I don't want to turn it down, but
Absolutely.
there
But
had to be
yes,
some pre-planning.
yes, and they
There
had
was.
done all of that. It's just they failed to get that information to us in a
Gotcha.
timely manner.
Yep.
And we've had those conversations, so thank you for bringing that up. But I don't want the kids to lose out.
No, I think they should, yeah.
So I do need a recommendation, our recommendation is to move forward with this trip, as presented to you.
I'll make a motion to accept the trip and letting them go to Fort Worth as written.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Mr. Truelove and a second from Mrs. Klein to move forward with the Fort Worth Stock Show field trip. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same.
And I do have another item. There has been conversation with the board about, I have talked recently about retirement. And so, go ahead and take that. I want to give the board a heads up of when that's going to happen. So you have plenty of time for hiring a new superintendent. So I am announcing my retirement date as June 30th of 2026. That gives you a year and a half. And I know it takes a long time to hire a superintendent. I want it to be a smooth transition. I want it to go well. So if there's anything I can do to make that happen, I'm certainly available. But appreciate the opportunity to be here. It's just time. It's time to be the gatekeeper of my own time. So that doesn't happen right now. So I'll do anything I can do to make sure that East Noble is set up to be successful as I transition on my way out. So thank you. I appreciate the opportunity I've been given. And I'm sorry to do that to you as you just get ready to come on board. It's still plays out. But I know it's been a concern, and I want to make sure that that's a public knowledge and that you have that information available so you can move forward. So.
Dr. Gremaux, thank you. I can speak on behalf of the board for your hard work and dedication these last few years. Your time's not done here, that's for sure. There's a lot of hard work ahead of us.
Absolutely.
For sure, but thank you for that. And I think as most people here are aware, you know, this board is charged with several things. Number one is budgetary issues, not in any particular order. Number two is setting policy. And the third thing is the employment of the superintendent. And, you know, that is something that, rest assured, we will definitely be doing our due diligence in order to find someone to lead us in the future. And I think to continue to allow East Noble to be the shining star that I think it is, and I think everybody on this board feels it is. So thank you for giving us this. And we really excited for you. Spending more time with grandkids and
Yeah, I got 13 on the way, so hey.
But
That's a lot.
we're not there yet.
Not
Not there yet.
Not there.
Any other comments? Any other comments?
Yeah, I have superintendent comments, and that's where we're at now. Actually, Dr. Grew, we're just welcome you, and we want to know if you want to speak a few words on, just give us some background information about yourself and share that with the board, how you're saying.
Little introduction?
Mhm.
All right, yeah, Michelle Peru. I live just north of Shipshewana. I started my career at Westview. Don't hold that against me, but I was there for 30 years, teaching 6th grade, 5th grade, title, high ability, and finished off 10 years as curriculum director. Then I left and was director of professional learning at 2 of the state's 9 educational service centers. Left that to start a educational consulting business, and loved doing that, but it's quiet working from home, and I'm a people person, and that led me here. But more importantly, I'm a mother of 2. I have a daughter, Audrey, who is out in Los Angeles wearing a mask because that fire is extremely close to her place. Was so proud of her. She went to college close to home at Notre Dame and then chose to just go across country. And then I have a son, Sam, who is finishing up medical school in Ann Arbor and getting married in June. And he and his soon-to-be wife will find out their residency placements in March. I don't know where they're going to land. It's very exciting. I guess one other piece I would include is Sam has been my child who has made my life very interesting from birth. But most importantly, probably is his cancer diagnosis in high school, which led to him losing his leg and a weird amputation where it took out the middle, took the bottom half, sewed it on backwards. He uses his ankle as his knee, and the kid's so dang resilient. He is been on Team USA and has won 3 world championships as a high jumper and gold medals in the Olympics. And so we've traveled the world following that little booger because nothing keeps him down after 2 years of cancer treatment. And I was just telling Teresa yesterday that my career would not be what my career is if that kid wouldn't have been my role model, that you don't stop. So he kept going, so I kept going. So
And now he's in med school.
and now he's in med school, yeah, which he would never have been had he not had cancer, you know. And so he is. There's a lot of stories and determination and good messages in his story. So
What does he want to do in residency?
you know, he wanted to do orthopedic surgery, but because of his prosthetic, he can't stand that long. So now he's going into pain management rehabilitation, which will allow him to sit. And then his fiance is going to be an anesthesiologist, which I can finally say without having to pause.
Medical terms are hard.
They are. Yes. So that's the basics of me.
Yeah, it's well shared.
They're very, oh my gosh, the first 2 days have been amazing. Super. Teresa's taking very good care of me, as is the whole staff. Even Brian.
Even Brian.
Brian.
My good hear.
Reputation. Dr. Gremaux, anything else?
Yes, just a few things. I just want to thank our presenters. Brian, you did a lot tonight. Luke and Kathy, just good information. It's a long meeting, but it's good information, so we do appreciate that. I know he put a lot of hard work into it and appreciate all that time. So just to remind new board members, the 2 of you, if you want to do new board member training, to get that information to myself and Kelly so we can get you signed up if you're interested in doing that through ISBA. Again, quarterly meeting reminders, shoot me some dates on what works for you. If you want to just ask me right here at the end of the meeting, I can certainly find a time that would work as well. And one last thing, there is misinformation about me personally that's out there about a transgender student at Manchester, and I do want to address that because enough is enough. That student was a transgender student that used the restroom of their choice 1 year prior to my arrival for my hire date. I was not even aware of that for 5 months in when I became the superintendent. So nothing was hidden from anyone under my watch. That was made very public. And the board brought attorneys in, several attorneys in, and chose not to overrule that and allow that child to continue. So to say that that was something that I did under my watch is very untrue, and I just want it to stop right now. And board, you've been aware of this the whole time.
Yeah.
So that is not true. That's misinformation, and I wanted to clear that up tonight. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Comments or questions from the board?
I just want to say, Teresa, thank you. I came on not long after you came on, and it's been a pleasure.
Oh, thank you.
I'd also like to say, I think a lot of times in this room, we hear from the public on how much you care and support our children, and that's awesome. But I think 2025 is a great year for some change. And this meeting's about to wrap up, as you guys know, and there's a boys basketball game going on. So I would encourage those of you who keep telling us how much you care, go show us, go support our boys. And I think 2025 needs to be your year of either put up or shut up.
Anybody else have any comments?
Well, Teresa is one that's getting closer to the rule of 85. I congratulate you. It's always nice when you can get, a time frame in your head and do that and meet professional goals. And I think when I look back at your resume and think about things you've done, you've done everything. So enjoy. I know you want.
I will. I've got a ways out.
You got another one coming. And, there is life after school. So I keep telling myself that too. So I'm going to tell you, there's life after school.
It's going to be hard.
It's a transition.
Yeah.
But my father says every day's Saturday, so I believe him. By what I've seen him doing, I believe him.
Anybody else have anything? Okay, I just want to say one more thing. Thank you for your vote of confidence in me. I will try and lead with humility and honesty and integrity with every decision I make. And John, it was brought up tonight with emails. I'm always available. And if anybody ever wants my cell number, I'm open to that too. With that, we are not going to have an executive session, but the next regular board meeting will be Wednesday, February 19th, 2025, beginning at 6 p.m. at this administration office, and we are now adjourned.